Which is the best game improvement iron of 2021? Let's go find out. It's finals day, which means it's finally time for the Titleist T300 to take on the Wilson D9 to see who's going to be crowned the best game improvement iron of 2021. Now, both of these have been seriously top performers so far, so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here. Now, make sure you keep watching throughout this video because Wilson have very kindly decided to donate a set of D9 irons to one lucky winner. So keep watching to find out how you can enter that competition. And on that note, let's hit the D9 to start. So first off, let's talk looks. I haven't hit this club for a while now, and I had forgotten just how big the footprint is over the ball. You can kind of see that top line coming around the back, but in terms of the shaping, I do really like it. Now, we have got quite a thick top line here, but then overall what I like with this shaping is the fact that there's quite a minimal offset. So for me, I really like that over the golf ball. Felt like a pretty nice strike. Slight bit of fade on that, but started at 168 yards, which is pretty solid. Interesting, because I felt like I caught that slightly thin, but it's actually fallen an extra 2 yards. So 170 yards with a 7-iron, very solid in terms of distance, but these have been really good on distance throughout this series. Oh, striped that. Dispersion was a little bit off though. But that's just flown 174 yards. What I really like about this is just how high the ball flight is as well, because I know a lot of people who are looking for the game improvement category generally want a little bit more height on the balls. So these are flying up at over 90 feet, which is really going to help you increase that carry distance because you're going to have more hang time, but also crucially because you've got that steep land angle, it's going to help you hold the greens and not run through. Ooh, that is left. Now obviously I've pulled that so it's gone further, it's on 176, but in terms of the dispersion, not great. I caught that a little bit toey and turned it over, and you can see I've got quite a big left miss out of that there. Oh, flushed that one to finish. Draw back onto the line, 171 yards dead straight. I'd be very happy with that. Now I know I normally go through the data at this point, but just to build a bit more suspense, since it's the final, I'm gonna save it all to the end. So let's go hit the Titleist now. Now first up in terms of looks, to be honest, there is quite a big difference. The club head is smaller, the top line looks thinner, and also they've kind of done a two-tone effect on the top of here, which makes the club look even more slim over the golf ball. In terms of offset, not much difference, but visually for me, the smaller shape of this looks nicer over the ball, but then I think if you're someone who's going for a game improvement iron, you might actually prefer that larger visual of the Wilson D9, because it's definitely a bit more comforting. Slightly toey, not my best strike. I would say it's probably gone straighter than the ones I hit off centre with the Wilson, but it's not carried as far. That's only flown out at 160. Now it's quite interesting because I thought the Wilson was a really high ball flight and I didn't think this would necessarily fly as high, but so far it's actually been higher. It's just such a nice shot shape. Really consistent so far too as well, which I'm very impressed with. Okay, that was my worst strike yet. And yes, the distance wasn't very good. It's gone 159, which, don't get me wrong, for a 7-iron is good, but probably not compared to the rest of shots that have been hit today. But even with that slightly thin miss strike, it's still flown up at 91 feet, and it's gone literally bullet straight. Straight again. My best strike so far, I would say, and it's flown out 165. Okay. I ripped that. I don't think I can hit that any better. And that's flown 168 yards. But set off perfectly straight with a little draw. I mean, it's just a really good looking golf shot. Okay, I went after that a bit. I managed to get 170 out of it. Pulled it a tad though. Oh, it's left. It's left. I think I was probably trying to get a little bit too much out of that. I did manage 172 carry though, but relative to the dispersion, not the best. It's a bit straighter. Right, that's 10 shots done. Let's go see how the numbers stack up. Okay, it's the time for the big reveal. And to be honest, the data is probably what I would have expected. It was the Wilson that was the longest iron out of the two, but then it was the Titleist that had the better dispersion and probably better consistency too. So the Wilson was flying out at 170.7 yards on average with a 7-iron. To put that in perspective, my normal 7-iron number is like 155. So I'm gaining like 15 yards here, which for any level of golfer is a serious amount of distance. Compared to the Titleist, it was about 5 yards longer, so I was averaging just over 165 with the Titleist, which is still distance that I would be really happy with out on the course. But obviously you've got to weigh up if 5 yards longer is going to be more important to you. Now, in terms of dispersion, the Titleist was seriously consistent. Now, there was 2 shots where I kind of got a bit confident and went for it, and one of them did go a bit further left. But in terms of the total width of dispersion, it was like 80 yards left to right. And if we'd taken the bad one out, it would have been like 40. Now, the Wilson was almost 120 yards wide from my worst shot left to my worst shot right, which is 40 yards more, and that's definitely quite a big difference. I think you kind of have to think about what you're trying to achieve with the irons, because for me, it's not like a driver, it's not about hitting it the furthest. I want to hit greens with it. So in terms of dispersion, that's a really important factor for me. Now, another interesting thing here was that the Titleist was actually flying higher. So the peak height was nearly up at 98 feet compared to 91 with the Wilson. And this also fed into the descent angles. So the Titleist had a steeper descent angle at 47 degrees compared to 44 with the Wilson. Probably not a massive difference, but every extra degree you get is really going to help you hold the green. So if you're someone who has that lower ball flight and always seems to run through the greens, these are going to help you stop them quicker. I mean, both of these models are going to do that, but the Titleist is going to do it a little bit better. In terms of spin, this is the same story. The Titleist was spinning 5,000 more in the 5,300s on average compared to 4,800 with the Wilson. So I actually put the little dots on my club today so we could pick up some club data and impact location from the GC2. And it was really interesting because the Wilson was actually making me strike it out of the middle more consistently, which is possibly why we saw more distance out of these. But it's actually interesting that with the Titleist, I was striking it more all over the face. My impact location was bigger. I definitely hit a few more off the toe, but then these shots were still going the straightest out of all of them. Now, if we look at the kind of lie angle data, the Titleist was 1 degree more upright than the Wilson, and I do typically have my clubs flat, so obviously that is going to affect the dispersion a little bit. But for me, I was really pleased to see that even though I was striking the Titleist more all over the face, I was still getting a really good dispersion with it, which is very impressive, but also made me think, should I be using the Wilson? Because I'm striking it more out of the middle of the face. So definitely want to think about if you should be picking a club that gives you more forgiveness from having those strikes all over the face and still being able to hit straight shots, or if you want something that allows you to consistently hit it out of the middle. That's going to vary for different people. Now, the final thing I think we need to touch on here is consistency. Both of the datas with these were really impressive. There's obviously some gains for both, the Wilson being a bit longer, the Titleist being a bit straighter, but for me, probably the thing that's going to predict the winner is the fact that one of these was a lot more consistent than the other. So when we look at each shot here in terms of the dispersion and the height, we can see that the Titleist was a lot more consistent in terms of distance from front to back, so there wasn't as much variable between the worst shot and the best shot, which obviously when you think you're out on the golf course, you don't really want one shot that flies 150 and ends up short of the green and one that ends up 180 long of the green. You really want some that are more consistent, so you're always going to be hitting the spot. Obviously, it's not going to happen every time, but you want the majority of your shots to be more consistent. The same is true in terms of ball flight, because the more consistent that is, it's going to feed into other areas of your game because you can predict how that ball's going to fly, and it's going to make your shot decisions a lot easier. So here's a few conclusions for me. If you're looking for the longest game improvement iron of 2021, it's got to be the Wilson D9. And also, this does have to be the best value for money. However, the title of the best game improvement iron of 2021 has to go to the Titleist T300. Right, that's all for today. If you have any questions about either of these irons or any of the irons we've covered in this range, feel free to put them in the comments below. Also let me know, do you think I made the right decision? If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications too. And if you're after more golf content, head over to the National Club Golfer social media channels for more. So here's what you need to do if you want to be in with a chance of winning the full set of Wilson D9 irons. First off, make sure you like this video and comment below telling us what video series you'd like us to do next or which head-to-heads you would like to see. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and the Wilson Golf YouTube channel too, and make sure you go ahead and follow our social media channels, which I will link in the bio below. Oh, and one last thing. Good luck.